more Fire Emblem 12 Hard 3 ZPG. This is Chapter 11. The highlights of the preparations here are that we need to recruit a new unit with Sita, otherwise I would not bring her, and I need 3 healers, so I'm bringing Wendell, and there's a bunch of flying dragons on this map, so I'm bringing Etzel with the Excalibur Tome, and 2 snipers. One of them is obviously George, but the second one probably isn't who you're expecting. Strangely enough, the Avatar's promotion bonuses are extraordinary. 8 HP, and he jumps all the way up to A rank bows when he wasn't even at B rank before, which means I have a second unit who can use the Parthia. That's a pretty big deal, and he's going right to work in this chapter. I need to check only one stat here. It's that this one hand axe barbarian has 5 defense instead of 6. So this is a pretty long chapter, but that's really only because there's a lot going on every turn. There's 33 enemies. And it's desert tile, so movement, of course, is impeded. The big idea is that I'm splitting into 3 teams. Each has a dragon killer. That's going to be Etzel, George, and the Avatar, as well as a healer. And 2 of the teams have some backup DPS units as well. The normal approach to this chapter is to one-shot all these wyverns with like a forged dragonpike as you pull them in on enemy phase, but that does not work on Hard 3, because every dragon-type enemy in the game can attack at 2 range, in addition to being able to double pretty much everyone in my army and hitting extremely hard, making Draco Knights significantly less effective here than usual. Instead, we're going to have Etzel's Excalibur Tome, George with all of our strength shards, and Louise, which you'll recall is the forged steel bow from all the way back in Chapter 2, and then also the Avatar with the Parthia. George is going to handle most of the dragon killing, which is excellent because I want to conserve the Parthia as much as possible. And Etzel actually has additional value here because magic units don't face movement penalty on desert tiles, while everyone else does. So this is why Yumina and Militia here are going to be able to keep up with their sniper buddies throughout this chapter, despite having only 5 movement. One big thing that makes this chapter more manageable is that nothing is running straight at you on turn 1, so you can pull the wyverns and packs of humans at your own pace, which is really the only reason I had a chance here at all. So Minerva is just heading in to pull those barbarians and chunk them both with the Hawkclare to set up kills for next turn. Pala finishes off this barbarian in position to pull the next barbarian. You can see that on the range tiles on the ground there, the red ones. And then Etzel comes in to heal her so she can survive combat with the next barbarian. He gets danced so he can move into position to pull the next wyvern. And we get a nice little heal from Wendell too. He's also going to need the Vulnerary to get topped up, because he needs to be close to full HP to survive a hit from these wyverns. So I'm loving this chunky damage that we're seeing from our axe-wielding Draco Knights. George takes out another wyvern, and he does indeed need all 3 of our strength star shards to cover the variation in enemy stats, but it's a whole lot better than having to spam the Parthia. So there's another kill for Etzel. But keep in mind though, everybody who's fighting these wyverns would get doubled. They need to one-shot these wyverns on enemy phase, or they're going to die to the double attack. So the Avatar picks up another kill with the Parthia. That crit obviously wasn't necessary. Even on a unit like this, the Parthia super overkills these wyverns. Sita has to dip into her Silver Lance here, unfortunately, to get this kill. But that's also the value of getting her to B rank lances. It's paying off. Minerva gets this kill, though, without having to use her expensive weapons. Now, I brought the Recover Staff on Militia, which heals any unit up to full. I thought I might need it for this exact kind of situation, where Minerva's at like 2 HP, but we ended up not getting overwhelmed on this part of the map. The Avatar's team here has the least to do, sort of, in contrast with the other 2 teams who are killing pretty constantly. So they're able to take their time a little bit up there in the northeast. And once again, I want Pala moving forward as she gets the kill, so that Fina can move her maximum distance when she dances Wendell. So Wendell comes in for the heal, and because of the bones tiles on the ground do not have movement penalty, and so she gets to move a little farther than last turn. So yeah, you can see the little bones. The skulls do not count as bone tiles for whatever reason, but the ones that are just like scattered bones don't have a movement penalty, which is kind of weird. Marth actually contributes with his Devil Sword here. It hits really hard for a base stats Marth. here in Chapter 11, so that's nice. And Etzel's able to clean this up without even using the Excalibur. He uses the Hellfire. George continues to put in work. Not much else going on in this enemy phase, though. So I need one of the two barbarians up here to the up left of Etzel right now to roll 15 speed instead of 16 so that they can't double Etzel. It doesn't matter which one, because from this position where Etzel just got danced, he can reach the tile that pulls either of them. So as long as one of them has 15 speed, he can just move to pull in that one. There, we check the speed. Okay, this one's good to go. And we got a vulnerability to top up again. And then Pala's going to pull the other barbarian. There's something else that separates this chapter from previous ones. The very notion of pulling enemies individually without manipulating their AI is a huge breath of fresh air. George has yet more dragon slaying to do, and here in a second, I'm kind of ashamed of how cautious I was being with this movement. It takes me way too long. Not like, you know, long, but longer than it should, because I just wanted to double check everybody's range and make sure I had it right. So you'll just have to forgive me for wasting a little bit of time there. There we go. Ultimately, all three of them come together to take out this archer without using any of their expensive weapons. They all just use steel weapons. Yeah, nice crit. Thanks for that. Etzel lands a nice counter on this barbarian. And oh my goodness, we did it! Pala made it to C rank axes without using an arm scroll. Let's go! We did it! George gets an energy drop from that wyvern. And speaking of which, you saw me get a spirit dust back on turn 1. This map is a nice relief from the way desert maps normally work in Fire Emblem. They're always filled with treasure, but normally they're either like really low percent to find them and you have to use some tricks where you reset the game or whatever, or you need a thief to find them guaranteed or something like that. In this game though, any unit standing on the appropriate tiles will guaranteed find the treasure. So that makes my life a lot better here, and we're going to find all of the treasure. And there's a lot. Marth put in some more work there with the Devil Sword. That was fun. Etzel and Pala, though, need to swap their targets. Of course, you get crits when you don't need them. I need to swap targets here to finish these guys off. What are these crits? I don't understand. So there's two wyverns along the north edge of the map that are linked to this last pack of humans in some sort of way. It's a little unclear exactly how it works, but we're bringing in George to come lend a hand to relieve some of the stress of dealing with two wyverns. I think it's pretty adorable to imagine Yumina just chasing after George through the desert to heal him after he's killing dragons. Like, she trips over her dress. I think it's pretty funny to imagine. And bless intelligence systems for coming up with the button that shows you all the enemy range on the map. I would truly be lost without these red tiles. Etzel burned right through a full stack of vulneraries in a way we haven't seen since the prologues. But that's okay, we got a lot of them. So there's a huge group of enemies up near the gate. And this is one of those bubbles that I talked about a long time ago, where they won't pull unless you're in range of more than one of them. And with a wyvern up in that bunch of enemies, it's going to be impossible to be in range of more than one of them, because one of them is definitely going to be the wyvern. So there's just no way you're going to pop this bubble or pull these enemies without using a rescue staff. So that's what we're going to have to do. George just found an angelic robe, which is awesome. And Minerva is going to get set up to fight these barbarians. Although one of them has a hand axe, so she can only counter one of them. But it'll be beefy, because she's using the Hawk Claire. It's finally time to drop a save, and this one is mighty unfortunate. I actually have to get 2 crits off of this save point, and one of them is dumb. I need Pala to crit this Swordmaster with the Hector Axe. Just wipe him off the map with an 11% crit. And then we also need Minerva to crit this archer. This was slightly different while I was routing the chapter. These barbarians both had 15 speed, so the Avatar could avoid getting doubled by them on enemy phase, since he's holding the Scorpio Shard this whole time. That's why I gave it to him. But when I actually went to record, I didn't notice in prep that they had 16 speed, and that wouldn't work. So I kind of had to adjust on the fly. So that's why I had to route in an extra crit with the Killer Lance. And as well as the physic use. Although that's something slightly different. That Barbarian also rolled an extra point of strength, where in the past, on other variations of the strat, other attempts, I've had Minerva not need that physic. But whatever, I'm so sick of re-rolling for stat variations, so let's just burn the physic use and move on with our lives. So we killed that Swordmaster, we popped the bubble. The Wyvern is going to run straight into Etzel's Excalibur Tome. The far north Wyvern is fortunately linked to this pack as well, and is going to fly right in, hitting no one, and then die on next player phase. The big problem here, though, is that the Barbarian and Hunter nearest to the save tile are not linked with the rest of these guys, and so you end up with a really nasty-looking clog at the bottleneck here, where it's one tile wide, and that's going to be tricky to deal with. The trick to dealing with the clog at this bottleneck, though, as we'll see, is we're going to send Pala off to the west. I'll just wait till I actually do it. Here we go. We send Pala over here to not only pick up the goddess icon, which isn't very good, but that positioning is going to pull one of the hunters back over to the west, away from the clog, instead of running into the clog and ruining our whole strat. This was really the saving grace of the end game of this chapter. I was having a really tough time. I'd routed in 3 crits on the next turn before I realized I could do this. And I probably never would have noticed this if I hadn't been like, oh right, there's a goddess icon. Let me go get the goddess icon. And then, oh my god, I pulled the archer. So I was kind of lucky, which is, symbolic of finding a goddess icon. It's interesting, I guess. So Wendell's heading off to hunt some treasure. Sita's going to recruit Jake, finally. And he's going to get the VIP card off of her to visit the secret shop. I don't have a lot of money, but these weapons are surprisingly cheap. So we're going to pick up 2 dragon slaying weapons, the Worm Slayer and another dragon pike. It's shockingly cheap. I'm not totally sure if I'm going to need those weapons, but most of the dragons left in the game aren't flyers, so the bows and Excalibur won't one-shot them like we need them to. I used the second save tile there to get a crit with Minerva, but because I pulled that Western Archer away, I can get through the clog without any additional crits. Just needed that one from Minerva, which is why she had to hightail it to get over here. And so we just got a Killer Axe that Minerva, but now also Pala, now that she's at C rank axes, will be able to put to good use, so that'll be interesting. Marth only moves 1 tile there before stopping and getting danced, but that 1 tile ends up being the difference between 11 and 12 turns. So Fina, just like that, I had to keep Fina moving, I had to keep Marth moving to be able to finish in the minimum number of turns. So Marth contributed again there. I used the Levin Sword, because it's on a turn where I had to route a crit, I'd rather do something reliable, like use that Levin Sword, rather than using the Devil Sword, which is unreliable. Wendell continues his treasure hunt. Sita picks up an arm scroll, and Militia gets the Draco Shield. I also had to give Marth the Capricorn Shard to have enough magic to kill with the Levin Sword there. That's why he's been holding Capricorn the whole time. Etzel gets a little bit of staff rank, it's nice. I did a stupid trade chain here to put another heal staff on Etzel, but he doesn't actually have a chance to use it with the way I close out the chapter, so that is pointless. But it was good thinking. So it looks like Marth is blocked by this archer, but he's not. That's his full movement, and he doesn't need to kill that guy. We're just going to have Etzel do it with the wimpy Fire Shard, after picking up the Capricorn Shard off of Marth. And so I also gave Etzel the Gemini Shard from George. I didn't need to do that. You'll see he's got 1 more damage point than he needs on the boss, so he could have left the Gemini Shard on George, who would now probably trade it to Minerva. She's getting cheeked up with our other strength shards, because she needs to kill a Swordmaster in a second. But I think that Swordmaster can sometimes roll an extra point of defense. See, it was 49 versus 48 to kill that boss. I think this Swordmaster that Minerva's about to kill can sometimes roll another point of defense, and then she would have needed the Gemini Shard to kill him with a crit. But it would have worked out the same. I just would have kept Gemini on George and traded to Minerva. Sita is just barely able to pick up the secret book here. That's nice. Wendell, I didn't say it, but Wendell went and found his last piece of treasure, the invaluable Speed Wings. We drop our last save so that Minerva can get this crit. And also finds a hidden energy drop in the sand. So we actually got all of the treasure on this map. That feels good. What's funny is that if you actually die that Swordmaster, you still find the energy drop, even though you're dead, when combat's over. So that's funny. So that's Chapter 11 in 11 turns, which sounds like a lot, but Marth moved his full movement every turn. And there's no way I could have gotten a rescue user up there faster than I did. So I think that's about as fast as it gets in this kind of run. I'm really happy with this. The next chapter is generally considered the hardest chapter in the game. I don't know when that's going to be out, but thanks for watching.